Michigan hockey fans, are you ready to brave the wild? With me, your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Owygen. Brave the Wild is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps and also on the Hockey Podcast Network, THPN. I thank Dylan and Kyle so much for having me on board that awesome page and network. Coming in out of Vancouver, British Columbia, the team we beat 10-7 this past week somehow by some crazy circumstances, I suppose. We'll take it. I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back aboard with you once again today. The sun is shining here in Golden Valley, Minnesota. As for the Wild, I'd say it's, I don't know. Like, sometimes it's a nice clear skies. The next time it's a storm. The next time it's partly cloudy. And then other times it's just that obnoxious gray mist that never stops. And it's just depressing and boring. But, the past week was fairly entertaining, I'd have to say. Though, unfortunately, at the end of the day, how many points did the Wild get out of 6? 3. I don't know. But the Wild are somehow within within 2 points of a possible final wild card position. Yay. I don't know. I mean, it's like, I get it, the whole feel-good side of it, but at the same time, is it really fruitful for the Wild's future? Not necessarily. I don't really want to pick 20th in the draft anymore. It'd be nice to pick higher. I don't know, but it's kind of like their whole too good to tank type of deal. Yes, there's talented players on the team. It's just kind of, we're stuck in mediocrity. It sounds just like the Vikings. Thankfully, the Timberwolves are not. Hopefully, they continue to remain number one in the Western Conference. Check out Timberwolves Explosion tomorrow, or last week's show, or 10 years ago, whatever, because they've been around forever, just like this one. Vikings, Twins, whatever, kind of stuck around mediocrity forever, so we'll have to wait and see how that, I don't know. Then again, I guess we're all tired of waiting and seeing, aren't we? I think we're all tired of that. Drafting well is a big part. That's the paramount. You could have the 5th pick in the draft, and he could be an absolute bust. Or the 4th pick in the draft, and be a glorified third liner who we were hoping was going to be top-line talent, and he wasn't. So look up Benoit Pouliot for that one. And A.J. Thielen, oh boy, didn't even come close. Couldn't even make the AHL. Kicked off his college team. Amazing stuff. Top 10 picks. So obviously there's that possibility. But I like my chances. Picking high, maybe you can get, maybe you can get another Rossi. Maybe you can get, whoever. You can get the Danila Yurovs of the world and continue to pick high. Luckily, in that case, the Wild may have gotten super fortunate picking in the lower half of the first round. I'm putting my foot in my mouth. Let's just keep going. The Wild lost to Buffalo when they should have won the game. They just kind of coughed it up at the end to a familiar foe who, unfortunately for him, the goal didn't count for him, but still, he was there at that crucial moment. The Buffalo Sabres. The Wild lose to the Buffalo Sabres for the 500th time in franchise history, or at least it feels like it. And, I don't know, maybe the 400th time in like some kind of last-second crazy, strange goal, like weird angle like Jason Pominville years ago. Who could forget that one? It's a nice goal and everything, but it was like the oddest, craziest angle. Like, really? That really, man? Or what have you? Like this one, the Wild were winning forever. They blow the lead with 30 seconds left, and then so on and so forth. And then you have the craziest game ever. We're getting our asses handed to us by Vancouver. Suddenly, we're handing their ass to them because they're in the penalty box like every 10 seconds, like a bad video game or something. Like, another penalty, another penalty. Two-man advantage. It just kept happening, and the Wild kept scoring, and it was entertaining as heck. And then, unfortunately, though, you had to pull Gustafsson because he sucked major something, swear words. He just sucked. He was terrible. And, I don't think that helped going into Winnipeg. You have Flurry, who had to play the third period against Vancouver. And then he got, beat early and often against the Winnipeg Jets. Plain and simple. It was kind of like a continuation of the first 2 periods of the Vancouver game in a lot of ways. Kind of was, wasn't it, though? Wasn't it kind of like that? It was like a continuation. Like, we're just picking up where we left off. Like, you just go ahead and kick our butts, and that's pretty much what happened. Depressing. But, the Wild get 3 out of 6 possible points. Wahoo. 3 games to review, 3 games to preview. Edmonton, Seattle, a little West Coast swing. Well, kind of West Coast. Edmonton's Mountain Time Zone. Seattle's, I keep screwing that. I keep calling it West Coast with Edmonton, but, it's west of here, isn't it? Edmonton Oilers. Yes, the team that's, looking a little better now, and they're actually the favorites to win the Stanley Cup. But, yeah, they haven't even won a conference final game since, what year? It was in the 1900s. No, 2000s, 2006. Pardon me. I'm never going to stop. My Seattle Seahawks, who I picked to go to the Western Final this year. Yeah, whoops. Whoops. Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Kraken. And then the Carolina Hurricanes on Tuesday next week. Yeah, well, we might go 1-2 in that group. So all this talking about making the playoffs, I agree with what Jesse Pierce had to say on, what do they call it, that show? Judd's Hockey Show, of course. She basically said, I don't give a bleep about making the playoffs because, yeah, they're not going to do anything. And I don't know, keep on losing, what the hell, get the higher pick, that type of thing. So, yeah, I don't know. It's the sad truth. I mean, even if it's slightly higher, that's good for us, I suppose. And playoff experience is nice, but unfortunately, it's just we're kind of stuck with a bunch of veterans. And I know we're going to keep rehashing that 1,000 times over until that approach is changed, I hope. One of these days, one of these decades. Yeah, let's just trade another third-round pick for some, like, fourth-line center that's not even worth diddly squat. Remember how Risebrough used to do stuff like that at the trade deadline? Oh, goody, we got Chris Simon. Oh, or wasn't there a guy named Poe or something we got years ago in the early days of Chuck Fletcher? And I was like, that was a third-round pick, wasn't it, that we gave up for, like, a fourth-line center? Huh. So, anyhow, I'm babbling way too much. We'll see what the Wild do in the trade deadline. I don't know what the hell. Buffalo Sabres 3-2. And, of course, I have, general topics with the show. I don't want to make this like a big game review fest like I tend to do at times. Yeah, I'll get to that when we get to the Vancouver game. That's kind of the main topic. That's kind of our feature presentation. Hint, hint. Big spoiler, I'm sure. 3-2 loss to the Buffalo Sabres in OT, and it's just you just knew, and of course it had to be Jordan Greenway, who was involved in the goal. Unfortunately for him, it did not count. Kirk's Dylan Cousins scored his 11th goal of the year, kind of forcing it in at the last second, off of Jordan Greenway's stick ultimately. In a scrum in front of the net with about, 30-some seconds remaining, 37, I guess, officially, much to all of our chagrin. 36, I don't know, it's weird, 35 point something. It doesn't matter, close enough. They tie the bleeping game up. All of us are, irate, and just like that figures, you just know we're going to lose now. You just know that. It's like 1,000% chance. You go into overtime against Buffalo after giving up the lead with that little amount of time remaining. Of course they're going to win, and it was completely frustrating. And it messed up a pretty good performance by Philip Gustafson, who unfortunately later in this week is not going to perform well. Like that game, I don't know. It was just not good moments. Casey Middlestad opened up the scoring in the third period. Just neither team scored back and forth. There was a goal disallowed by Buffalo due to offsides. Other than that, it was a lot of back and forth and pretty good goaltending, honestly, by Philip Gustafson. The Wild were outplaying Buffalo pretty much most of the game. Luukkonen was outstanding. It looked like the Wild finally solved him enough in any way to get a 2-1 victory. And Declan Chisholm's first goal of his career on the power play, putting the puck on net. And he is a good puck mover. He did create some chances throughout the course of the game, and he will be on the power play. And, okay, maybe he's going to end up replacing Calen Addison, I guess, in a lot of ways, without being as small. So it's kind of like Faber replaces Addison in one sense, but then again, Addison was here this year. So maybe Chisholm kind of replaces Addison in a way, and he's not as small. So, yeah, he's like, 6'1". So he's kind of like medium big, you could say. He's not tiny. Joel Eriksson Ek, of course, opened up the Wild scoring tie in the game up with his 25th goal of the season. And there's some interesting conversation I'm going to bring up here, and also it's going to continue into fan interaction about who's the greatest center in franchise history. I just said his name. It's Joel Eriksson Ek. It is. Kirill Kaprizov's 31st assist along the way. Rossi had a really good week as well, though, for the most part. It's kind of sad, though. Certain players who didn't factor in that crazy effort against the Vancouver Canucks. We're going to get to that in a second. I keep going back and forth. But Joki Haru ended up getting the puck on net. I'm probably saying it incorrectly. I don't know. That's a tough one. Third goal of his season. I don't know. You felt like, like the goalie, you felt like Gustafson would have enough sight on that one, but it was a well-placed puck, to be fair. It was well-placed. It was a well-placed shot. Like, I wish I could shoot like that. You could say maybe there's a little luck involved. I'm sure there was. But at the end of the day, the Wild ended up losing in overtime after of Henry's shot, we'll just say. Henry J's shot to put the Buffalo Sabres in the win column. A team, again, kind of like us in a lot of ways, with a decent amount of talent, but they're not winning. You know, they're just not. They're okay. 24, 26, and 4. In fact, that's not okay at all. Below 500 is not okay. But I suppose, again, I guess keep getting draft picks and keep building up and maybe make some trades, I guess. Or Thompson looked like a superstar last year. He certainly dropped off this year, but also has missed some time. Luukkonen's been fantastic in net for Buffalo, but it's becoming kind of a wasted effort, unfortunately, with, have a goaltender being that good and you're not even above 500. That's a damn shame. Alex Tuck always misses time, too, and that's annoying. You know, it is what it is, and you traded for Jordan Greenway. That's fantastic. It's a miracle the Wild got the draft pick they did for that guy. Big and talented, but doesn't utilize his strengths at all. He just doesn't. It's like somebody who, maybe you're a center who plays, you're an NBA center or power forward who's just awesome down low. But all you want to do is hang around on the three-point line and jack up threes all day. Dude, get down and play. What are you doing? That's kind of what it's like, almost like with Jordan Greenway. That's kind of like the comparison. Kind of like Chris Webb, that guy. He was good, though. I'm just messing around, but he could have been better. Let me tell you, Antoine Walker, guys like that just, they don't utilize their strengths sometimes, and in Jordan Greenway's case, he rarely does whatsoever. Charlie Coyle was a reference here years ago as well, who we probably put too much pressure on him, and he was incapable of living up to it. But, I don't know, figure it out one way or another. Live up to the hype or, put the guy in a position to succeed one way or another if it's going to the third line. Whatever. Classic Wild, right? Vancouver Canucks, 10-7. Minnesota. Franchise history right there. 10 goals is the most we ever had. I believe we had 8 goals previously. It was an awesome game. I still remember the 8-goal game, but, that's in the rearview mirror now because of historic numbers in this one. A 6-goal stretch that, too bad it wasn't in the Stanley Cup final in, 91 or something, or maybe just us being in the Stanley Cup final now, and we're up 2 or 3 games to 1, and we have a stretch like that. And it's like, oh my God, we really are going to win the Cup. Instead, it was Pittsburgh doing it to the Minnesota North Stars in 91. In Game 4, after a momentum building, oh my God, we might actually win the Stanley Cup this year by against all odds against this crazy team who's got 99 superstars on it. But then there was the fastest 4 goals in final history, in finals history, and it was just devastating after that. Pretty much Pittsburgh slaughtered the North Stars. After that, it was depressing. Games 4, 5, and 6. It is what it is. Those of you that are old enough to remember, you probably heard it in my voice just now. You probably did. Yeah, you probably did. Marco Rossi, though, did record an assist versus Buffalo, so he has a bit of a point streak started now after being cold for quite a while. He did factor in the onslaught. He joined the party, so to speak. My goodness. Vancouver was kicking the Wild's ass. It's plain and simple, especially when Ian Cole opens up the scoring 2-1. First shot of the game, second shot of the game, JT Miller. And it's like, well, it doesn't look like it's our night. We're going to lose like 7-1 or something tonight. Joel Eriksson, the best center in Wild history. I said it again, 26th goal of the season. Mikko Koivu's career high in goals, 22. Yep, that's all, that's not all you need to know, but that's that's something. That's pretty notable. Already 26 goals. What day was it? February 20th, 19th or something? So it's like, yeah. I think Joel Eriksson is in pretty good territory when it comes to being the best center in Wild history. I don't think it's that crazy to talk about. Matt Boldy had a wild and crazy game. What did he have? 4 points on the night. It was absolutely fun. The Wild would fall down to 5-2 in the game. JT Miller recording a hat trick already to make it 5-2. It was already a hat trick for JT Miller. He was the first guy to get a hat trick, so it was a hat trick of hat tricks in the game because there were 3 players that had a hat trick. So I guess you could put it that way. Boldy finally getting his 20th goal of the season. I'm just it's like you think Boldy should be the guy with 25, 26, 27 goals, 28 goals, but maybe later, I guess, as the season progresses, he'll get there. Jules Eriksson might get 40 goals this year, and he's on pace to do so. What is he on pace for? 76 points and 43 goals, so it's pretty sick, or 42 goals, whatever it is, but 76 points. That's awesome. Koivu did get 71 once. One thing with Koivu, he couldn't stay healthy, it seemed like at times, and when he did, it seemed like whenever he was healthy, he wasn't as good, and then he'd have these spectacular years, and that's when he'd get hurt. And it's like, damn it. Anyway, so that kind of seemed to be the story of Koivu's career in a lot of ways. Other than, yes, he was the captain, and he's respected, and he was great in the face-off circle, except when it mattered most, it seemed like, at times. But I guess that's Minnesota sports more than Koivu being bad, I guess, at the end of the day. But the penalties started happening for the Vancouver Schmucks, and they became the Schmucks. They went from a great Western Conference team, coached by Rick Tocchet, who's doing a great job, to the Schmucks. And they were schmucks, because it was power play after power play after power play after power play after power play. And it was very entertaining. It was the fastest 6 goals in 26 years or something crazy like that. So absolutely sick. It's crazy to think the scoring opened up with Matt Zuccarello of all people, but okay, good for him. 10th goal of the year. You think of him as more of a passer, but he was playing with Kaprizov and Jules Eriksson in that case. But generally speaking, the main top line has been Ek, Boldy, and Kaprizov. Yes, sir. Jules Eriksson again did get his 26th goal earlier, but he would wind up getting to 27 and 28 during this flurry that just kind of kept happening. And I'm not talking about Marc-Andre. It was a flurry, though we would need Marc-Andre Fleury in the third period after going down 5-2, ultimately 5-3 after Zuccarello would score in the second period. And then that third period was just a blast. It was so much fun. Jules Eriksson with one-timers in the game, with one-timers and nice centering passes from Zuccarello in both cases, would end up finishing finishing on both of those. Kaprizov also a great play from, again, Zuccarello racking up the assists in the game like crazy. Or was it even a great play? Yeah, it was good. It was a really good play, nicely timed pass. Kaprizov with the one-timer on the shot, and you could read his lips saying, "Let's go!" Like we'd tied the game up just like that. It was just like so quick. Less than a minute and a half into the third period, the game was already tied. I mean, that's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. 21 seconds later, that was Jules Eriksson again, the centering pass from Zuccarello and releasing on a bit of a wrister shot. It would finish. Marco Rossi would again factor in. Lucchini would get his first assist on the season from Vinny Lettieri as well. So he's been playing with the Latinos. They all sound like Latinos. Like Rossi can also sound Latino, doesn't it? I mean, it looks like. Did I say Latino? Italian. It also sounds Italian when you put it together. But of course, Rossi is from Austria. But it just rolls off your tongue. Rossi, Lucchini, and Lettieri. It's kind of a fun line together, but I don't think those are permanent line mates for Marco Rossi long term, because that's kind of a third or fourth line kind of group there, I'd have to say. Kind of, no offense. I mean, Lettieri and Lucchini have been wonderful, and I think a lot of people would rather have them playing instead of Freddie Gaudreau and Marcus Johansson at this stage. I don't think there's a single person would even complain about it. Marcus Johansson, obviously the talent's there, but he's not utilizing it for the 99th time. How many players can we mention on that list? You could go on all day with that. Obviously, Gaudreau has done pretty much nothing the whole damn season. And everyone's like, bored to death with the nonsense. We are. We're absolutely bored to death with it. Kaprizov would get his 22nd goal. Boldy, yep, that was a lot of fun, making it 8-5. It was just an absolute crush. Absolutely beautiful. 5 goals in 5 minutes and 12 seconds, and ultimately 6 goals in less than 6 minutes. That is just ridiculous. Absolutely. It was fun. It was a lot of fun to watch. Unfortunately, it's just one game, and it wasn't a playoff game. It wasn't a cup final game. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. It wasn't the final game of the season trying to squeeze into the playoffs and, we're the greatest thing ever until we get beat in 5 games by the Colorado Avalanche. Yeah, I know. It's not being negative. It's just being honest. That's all it is. Of course, Vancouver would find the back of the net 2 more times in the game after that flurry. As Vancouver would definitely play a lot better after that. They'd finally kind of gathered themselves and actually almost still won the hockey game, and if you can believe it. the fact of the matter is the Wild gave up 7 goals in this game. It was a mess. It was a bleeping mess. And there's no doubt about that. Just thankfully, Vancouver was a bleeping mess just as much as we were. And the Wild were red hot, especially, again, being two-man advantage time and again. And capitalizing on the two-man advantage rather than getting stopped like we were so many times in the postseason and every other bleeping time in between along the way. Kaprizov would get an empty netter with like milliseconds left on the clock, releasing the puck and getting it there on time to get his hat trick, where again Jules Eriksson would get his during the flurry, and that felt great. Brodin would get his 4th goal of the year also on with the empty net to kind of wrap things up, as Vancouver still trailed, thankfully, so they had to go empty net at some point, and the Wild would get 2 empty net goals to make it 10 goals, which again is a franchise record. After the flurry, the Wild had already reached the franchise record, but ultimately finally would get it in the time of the empty net. Okay, whatever that was. That came out real weird. But yes, Jules Eriksson is the best center in franchise history as far as I'm concerned. I just think he is. I think the skill level is higher. And in a lot of ways, you'll hear from Derek Velska coming up saying he's everything we were hoping Koivu would be in a lot of ways. He really is. Outside of the phenomenal face-offs, the great face-off record. I wouldn't even say phenomenal, but the great face-off record by Jules Eriksson, Mikko Koivu, that, Jules Eriksson is everything we were hoping Koivu would be in so many ways. The playmaking skills are absolutely there, but the goal-scoring skills are absolutely there. And he's one of the best defensive forwards in the league. He should be a Selke candidate, and I think he deserves to get at least 1 or 2 of those throughout his career. Jules Eriksson again on course for 76 points. Kaprizov's on course for about 82. Marco Rossi's up to 48 now, and also that would mean Brock Faber also on course for 48 points on the season. So it's crazy to think that Brock Faber didn't factor at all. He didn't get a single point this week. He didn't get 1 point in the 10-goal flurry. So that's kind of sad. I wish he did. I mean, he was out there, wasn't he? So it's kind of sad. It's a bummer. It would have been nice to see Faber get like 3 points or something in that game. He should have. It's kind of weird. And what's really strange, I don't understand. But I suppose he must have been out there for Vancouver goals for this to happen. He was just flat out even. Absolutely even. No goals, no assists. And even plus minus, of course, no penalty minutes. But he didn't get a single shot on that either. Him being Brock Faber. So it's kind of weird. But the puck kind of was in the hands of the forwards most of the way. It seemed like in this game. More so than the defenseman. It just seemed that way pretty much throughout the night. Christum, no shots on net. So no second goal of his career at the end of the day. Gaudreau, not 1 single shot on goal in a 10-goal game. Not 1. But I suppose. It's just funny. And he was 0 for 3 on the face-off circle as well. That figures. And it's not like Jules Eriksson sucks in the face-off circle. 14 and 13. I mean, it's not dominant, but it's okay. At least it's, he didn't get his butt kicked, I guess. It's kind of funny when you think about that. But only 4 shots on goal and a hat trick. Just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. 6 points for Jules Eriksson, 6 points for Kirill Kaprizov, 4 points for Boldy, 4 points for Zuccarello, 1 goal and 3 assists for both of those guys, respectively. And after that, it was just a bunch of guys with 1 point, which is kind of funny. It was just 1 point, mostly. Rossi had the 1 goal, and then Lucchini, Letteri had an assist, Brodin had 1 goal, Merrill with an assist, John bleeping Merrill with an assist. It's kind of funny, too, because, I mean, even Middleton has, been scoring goals this year. He's got a decent number of goals on the season. It's just funny. Of all people, Brodin and Merrill were the ones that factored with the points. Because Brodin, obviously, he's kind of been, with Brock Faber as a partner, he's been kind of sitting back a bit more, because Faber's offense has emerged, obviously, as a lot of us have noticed, so which makes Brodin an even better defensive defenseman. But, occasionally Brodin will step up as well. But what a fun, entertaining hockey game at the end of the day. Nice to see Marco Rossi, though, factoring this week. He also would score twice against the Winnipeg Jets, which again put him on pace for 48 points on the season. So good for him. And Christum does look like a nice find. We'll have to wait and see how that continues. Winnipeg Jets 6-3. I don't know even if I want to talk much about this one. It's just a Debbie Downer. It really is. You come off the 10-goal game and all that, But again, like I said, it's like we just kind of picked up right where we left off in the first two periods versus Vancouver. It was like the same junk. That's really what it was, the same junk. That's all. That's all. But at least Rosie scored 2 goals in the game, thank you. That's nice, and Kristen would get his second assist as a member of our Minnesota Wild. And Freddie Gaudreau with his first assist since, like, Thanksgiving, basically. Or no, maybe his second or third, maybe, since about, Thanksgiving. Thank you very much. 8 assists on the season. Oh, boy. And again, it's not the dollar amount, even though $2 million is still $2 million. It's the commitment to Freddie Gaudreau. It's the commitment. It's the commitment. What the bleep were they? Yeah. Okay. Can I just play something?
Like, seriously, what the hell were we thinking?
Yeah, pretty much. What were we thinking exactly? And I don't know. Again, like I said, the Winnipeg game. What more is there really to say? It's just this is kind of the perfect game to tell you, okay, the Vancouver game was a lot of fun. It was a feature presentation. It was entertaining. It was beautiful, but this is the Wild this year. This is the Wild this year. I mean, again, 3 points out of a possible 6. That's all you really need to know. 3 points out of a possible 6. That's not being negative, and I'm not grasping for straws looking for a higher draft pick. Why the hell not? Why are we chasing something that's kind of like, I don't know, not realistic anyway? It's not. We're not the St. Louis Blues. We may actually have a number one center, and in fact we do. If I'm calling him the best center in franchise history, I would hope he's a number one center in Joel Eriksson Ek. But at the same time, do we have the pieces to win a Stanley Cup this year? Do we have the pieces to go on a playoff run this year? The goaltending has been shaky at best. Marc-Andre Fleury's ancient. He's ancient. He's good at times, but he's ancient. Gustafsson's not as good as he was last year. It's quite simple. So we're going to move on and get going here for the second time. The Mike Modano Award winner for this episode is Joel Eriksson Ek, but Kaprizov also is gonna share it with him. I guess kind of like a second place version of it, we'll say, because I want it to go more so to Joel Eriksson Ek. What an amazing week. Kaprizov had an amazing week as well, though, let's be fair. The James Shepard Memorial Popcorn Maker deal is Philip Gustafsson. I thought he was absolutely bullcrap against Vancouver. And I don't know, the final goal of the game versus Buffalo wasn't so great either. That was derailing. It was truly derailing. And, since I'm not depressed about losing necessarily, even though I'm not depressed about losing, you still have to count on who didn't play well. And Gustafsson didn't really play all that great this week. He was good against Buffalo, but it didn't end well, that type of thing. And Vancouver, he was dog dookie, to say the least. So with that, we'll take a quick break and come back, preview 3 games, look at the prospects. Back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 2, time to preview some games. But first, we are going to hear from our sponsor, DraftKings. We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything else happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. A couple of entertaining matchups tonight. I think I like this one. Ottawa, hosting the Dallas Stars. We're going to look at the money line. Let's go with the money line. Dallas Stars minus 162, Ottawa plus 136. Red Wings and Avalanche classic matchup back in the good old days in the Western Conference when Detroit was in the Western Conference. Hosting the the Red Wings are hosting the Avs. Red Wings plus 120, Avalanche plus 142. A couple other notables. Classic matchup here and there. Vegas and Toronto, that's awesome. That's awesome. Vegas is hosting Toronto. Vegas is again, this is the money line now, minus 115, and Toronto is minus 105. Western Conference, West Coast matchup, Seattle Kraken versus Vancouver Canucks. That's cool. Plus 105, and Vancouver minus 125. That one will be in Seattle. Pivotal game for Minnesota here when it comes to 2 teams you want to lose if you really Whatever. It's kind of like Shades of 93 when you're hoping the North Stars would hang on and pull off the miracle of all time, but yeah, sure. At Los Angeles, the Kings minus 155, Nashville plus 130. Maybe one more just for the fun of it, because just, I don't know, Boston and Calgary, it puts a smile on my face when I see those two, even though Calgary's just blech. At Calgary, the Flames are plus 105, and the Bruins are minus 122. We'll see how things go. So there's some entertaining matchups to look at, possibly getting onto DraftKings Sportsbook, as we like to call it. Apologize. Okay. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers bet just $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after insurance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights reserved. So now we return to the upcoming games here Friday, 8 p.m. against the ever-surging Edmonton Oilers. And again, a team that won 16 games in a row, and they're only in third place in their division. They were below the Wild or right around with, no, they weren't below us. They were kind of close to where we were. They were having an awful season. And since then, they've been having a pretty damn good one. And they are, again, favored to win the Stanley Cup. But let's at least win our first Western Conference final game in how many years? But what would it be? About almost, it would be 18 years, right? Yeah, 2006 was when they went to the Cup final and almost won it. Almost. Like they almost had Game 6 won and they blew it. And the Carolina Hurricanes would win their Stanley Cup. Congratulations to them. Season series, Minnesota 7-4 victory on October 24th. One of our first 5 wins of the year under Dean Evison, and only 5 anyway for him, unfortunately. 4-3 loss to the surging Oilers. December the 8th. And now this is the season finale in Edmonton, Alberta. Oilers aren't surging as much lately. 3-2 in their last 5. They defeated Detroit 8-4, lost to St. Louis 6-3, beat Dallas 4-3, beat Arizona 6-3, and lost at Boston 6-5 in a rematch of the 1990 Stanley Cup Final. That was nice stuff. It was like the two teams that would go to the conference finals only to lose the next 2 years to the North Stars, and the Pittsburgh Penguins would beat Boston 2 years in a row in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Oilers would lose to the North Stars and the Blackhawks, respectively, after that, only to, again, further and further drop off as the Messiah, well, as they called him anyway. Mark Messier went to New York not long after that. And that was the end of the spectacular Oilers dynasty as we knew it. Zach Bogosian left Tuesday's game on February the 20th with an upper body injury. Yep, he got, yeah, they were saying he was noticeably hurt, so that's great. Of course, Spurgeon's out for the year. Foligno, injured reserve as of Feb 11th. Pat Maroon is expected to be out 6 weeks as of the beginning of February, or February 5th anyway. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, RNH. He was out for the game on the 21st versus Boston. Didn't really want to do the 1990 rematch, so I'm just messing around. Edmonton's 8th in goals, 10th in goals against, which is pretty good. Boy, that's good for Edmonton to be 10th in goals against, because believe me, they've had issues in net and defensively, for about 20 years. Okay, 15. Whatever it is, it is. Power play, Edmonton's 4th. Minnesota is 13th. The Wild are 24th in goals against and 15th in goals. So penalty kill, the Wild are 30th. Still awful, but the third worst team. Edmonton 16th, that's okay. Power play, the Wild are 13th, if I already mentioned that. Wild still stink at penalty minutes, but it's getting slightly better. 28th now, so okay. It's an improvement. But yes, it's an epic team, obviously with talent. At times they played selfishly in the past, but maybe they're playing more as a team now, I guess, hopefully for their sake. RNH with 49 points, 15 goals, and 34 assists. Of course, Connor McDavid. Yes, the other Connor. It's crazy to think we're going to have two Connors possibly leading the league in scoring for the next, 10 to 15 years or something. At least be way up there. So Connor and Connor. That's why the Terminator wanted to get rid of Sarah Connor. Okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. That was a dumb joke. I'm sorry. That was really dumb. 85 points. That was beyond dumb. 85 points for Connor McDavid. 21 goals, 64 assists. 64 assists. Riley Height. Leon Draisaitl. 27 goals, 41 assists. And the actual leading goal scorer for the Edmonton Oilers is not McDavid or Draisaitl. It's Zach Hyman. And yes, I remember he beat us earlier in the year. 34 goals on the year. 53 points in 52 games. Only 19 assists, but 34 goals. Evander Kane has been around. Good for him. 21 goals and 14 assists for 35 points. He's not dominating or anything crazy, but still doing well. Yes, and I already talked about Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. He's the only hurt guy for Edmonton, and I'm being respectful here. I don't like to jinx anybody. It's not nice. Stuart Skinner, goals against average 2.66, save percentage 9.03, and 2 shutouts on the season. Kelvin Picard, 2.8 goals against average with a single shutout and a 91 save percentage. Not too bad. 7-2 on the year is Kelvin Picard. Jack Campbell has not had a good run. Unfortunately, 450 goals against average. But, yeah, it's pretty much been Picard, the former Los Angeles King. Stuart Skinner has been solid for Edmonton. And, of course, they've been surging for quite a while. Cooling off a little bit now. Still, according to others, to like certain groups out there, they are favored to win the Cup. They won't, though. I mean, it'd be cool to see, I suppose, but I don't know. I just don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. It's one of those kind of things. It really is. I mean, they always disappoint in the playoffs, don't they? Who am I to brag about us or anything? But yeah, I don't know. Are the Wild going to win this game? Nah, it's going to be like similar to the last one, like we'll go with a 4-2 loss to the Edmonton Oilers. 4-3, maybe even 5-3. I think the Wild score goals, but I think we give up goals. It's going to be kind of like that. Higher scoring game, so it'll probably be 1-0 Edmonton, but no, I'm going to say a 5-3 Edmonton victory, empty netter possibly by whoever it is. Maybe a healthy Ryan Nugent-Hopkins if he plays. Otherwise, the most likely guy to score for Minnesota among the 3 goals is going to continue to be Joel Eriksson Ek. I think it's going to be Joel Eriksson Ek scoring for Minnesota. He's going to near number 30, which will be pretty damn cool. But the Wild do not beat the Edmonton Oilers. I don't know what's happening here. It's driving me nuts. Seattle Kraken. The Seattle Kraken, as I'm saying their name correctly, which is great. Joey Decord's been a nice find this year, hasn't he? Where did he come from? Damn, he's good. Philip Grubauer, what a bust. What an absolute bust. Coming from the, a Stanley Cup contender, definitely looking to do something special, but he just was disappointing with the, after leaving Colorado and going to Seattle to open up their franchise. You think, oh man, this team's going to be good right away, just like the Vegas Golden Knights, that type of thing. Man, well, they had good success last year, generally speaking, but they really did. I mean, they were a threat, and it was fun to watch. But, I don't know, Joey Decord, 16-11, goals against average 2.37, and 2 shutouts on the year, 92 save percentage. We'll see how Joey Decord continues. Jared McCann is leading the club in scoring with 41 points, 24 goals as well. Oliver Bjorkstrand, I'm actually saying it correctly, 13 goals, 28 assists on the season, 41 points. Vince Dunn, former St. Louis Blue, pretty sure he's got a cup there, if I remember correctly. 8 goals and 32 assists, 40 total points for Vince Dunn. Jordan Eberle's definitely been, he's just not as good this year. Jaden Schwartz was on the Blues as well. Adam Larson, the former Oiler. Yeah, I mean, the numbers are not great at all, honestly. They're just not. But again, who am I to brag? But it's not like we're, tearing the world. We're not setting the world on fire either when it comes to the Minnesota Wild and scoring. But, well, certain guys are. I guess Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson Ek are having wonderful seasons, generally speaking. But, yeah, Seattle Well, they've kept the scores relatively low, but they're not really winning games either. That kind of thing. 3-2 loss to Philly, 3-1 loss to New Jersey. At the Islanders, they won 2-1 in the shootout. Basically, it was 1-1, and they won in the shootout. The Kraken beat Boston in Boston 4-1. That's one of their best wins of the year, easily. And then lost to Detroit. Like, I don't know. A lot of people are losing to Detroit lately. 4-3 at Seattle against Detroit. They'll be playing Vancouver tonight, and then Minnesota in a couple days. So we'll see how that turns out. This should be a win, I think. I don't know. It's not like the best matchup in the world. The Kraken, here we go. No injuries. Being respectful. No injuries. I'm just being respectful. Sorry. 3-1 win over Seattle. Remember that earlier in the season. That was a nice day. That was a very nice day. Saturday, February the 24th, and then Thursday, all the way up at the end of the year, April the 18th, in Xcel Energy Center. So I think there's a pretty good chance the Wild sweep Seattle this year, actually. I think they sweep them. I think they win the Xcel Energy game much later in the season as well. Seattle's 28th in goals, but 7th in goals against. Thank you, Joey Decord. 2.37 goals against average. That's what could make things interesting. It really could. The Wild beat Decord in that game. I remember that was kind of surprising. But again, when Seattle doesn't score a single goal, I mean, what the hell are you going to do? 17th on the power play, 17th in the penalty kill. 5th in penalty minutes. They stay out of the box. So big respect to Hackstall's club there in Seattle. So, yeah, he was on the Minnesota Moose, wasn't he? Isn't that crazy? He was on the Minnesota Moose. Remember them? They played, only 2 years here? And it's like, oh, boy, we're going to steal the Winnipeg Jets. They're going to be the Minneapolis Jets. And, yeah, we're going to have them and so on and so forth. No, they moved to Phoenix. And guess what? Screw you, Minnesota. The Moose are leaving to Winnipeg. What do you think of that? Nana boo-boo. That's pretty much what happened all those years ago. But it's interesting when you look at the roster, though, on that team. Stefan Moran, God rest his soul. He died in 1998 at age 29 of a heart attack. Stefan Moran, who led the league in scoring and happened to be on the Minnesota Moose when he did. Pretty wild. But yeah, Dave Haxtell was on that team. It's so freaking weird. It's so weird. Dave Christian. I mean, there was all kinds of names. Stuart Gavin. It was so cool. I always get a kick out of when I look at that. I'm like, oh my God. It was a really cool team, honestly. Moose Morissette. Who could forget that guy? He's one of those guys who'd score 1 goal a year, basically, but 300 penalty minutes. Basil McRae, eat your heart out. One of those kind of guys back in the good old days. So I thought I'd go down memory lane for a minute because Dave Haxtell. It's like, wow, that's cool. But with all that said, the Wild will beat the Seattle Kraken. We're going to get Kraken with our pistachios, and it's going to be a 3-1 victory for Minnesota. We're going to see Marco Rossi continue his solid surge, his point streak, unless he doesn't score any points versus Edmonton. But Marco Rossi will continue playing well at the very least versus the 23, 21, and 11 Seattle Kraken on the season. 11 shootout/overtime losses on the year. Not been good to them. But Rossi will factor in the scoring one way or another, and the Wild win versus the Kraken. Oh boy, and then we get to play the Carolina Hurricanes. Remember them? It's like, I don't know, some of us forgot. I had the Kraken and the Hurricanes skating in the Cup final with the Hurricanes winning. I swear I pick Carolina to win the Cup every year, and I'm wrong every single year, and I'm going to be wrong again. Unless, I don't know, I'm going to be wrong again. Let's just leave it as it is. The Carolina Hurricanes, second in the Metropolitan Division, 33-17-5. Kochetkov, nice. Nice one. 2.46 goals against average, 2 shutouts on the year. Save percentage of only 90.5, but so he's kind of a hot and cold. But when he's hot, he's really hot, that type of thing. Because 2.46 goals against average is insanely impressive. But also, again, maybe he doesn't face a whole lot of shots. Antti Ranta's been awful, to say the least. Almost 3 goals a game, but the 87.2 is like, what's up with that? So it's like when teams shoot against the Carolina Hurricanes, they make it count. 1 shutout for Antti Ranta, who, I've always kind of liked him, but he's not having a good year. Seth Jarvis, who was taken in that Marco Rossi draft back in 2020, definitely a tough guy, and he's a good player. 46 points on the season, second on the team in scoring, but also does rack up some penalty minutes, and he's got a lot of hits. He doesn't get that many penalty minutes, but he has a lot of hits. He's a physical guy. Sebastian Aho with Aho, whatever, 49 points on the 59 points on the season with 20 goals and 39 assists. to lead the club in both categories. Teuvo Teravainen has definitely dropped off the map. I don't know what happened to him. He was so good, but kind of oft injured along the years. Brent Burns isn't as much of an offensive juggernaut as he was in the past, but still 31 points, which is only 2 points behind Brock Faber on the season, which is the darndest thing. Actually, Brock Faber has more points than Brent Burns. Isn't that the weirdest thing? But it's weird, but it's still solid. Like 31 points is still solid by Brent Burns. Still might wind up with almost 50 or more by the end of the year, depending on how things go with Carolina as the year progresses. Sorry, dealing with a flimsy microphone stand. It's not good. It's damaged. If somebody would like to help me with something like that someday, a small donation to help me get a new microphone stand or something. Anything, please. 3 cents. Okay, sorry. What the hell am I talking about? But who knows? Maybe Carolina will have a huge playoff run, but I don't know. Every year they're disappointing at the end of the day. It's kind of sad. They're disappointing when the playoffs roll around. But still a very talented team, and the Wild usually don't play well against them. It's just a fact. Didn't think... we did. That's right. We did beat them 5-2 earlier this year. That was during that nice surge. We've had a couple of surges this season. That was arguably one of the most impressive wins of the year. I remember thinking, like, damn, that was good. That was really a nice game. 5-2 win versus Carolina. This one's coming into Xcel Energy Center. I got a feeling they're going to return the favor, but it won't be as lopsided per se. But then again, I mean, I don't know. Was it that lopsided? It just became lopsided, I guess, as the game progressed. Carolina is playing pretty well. 1-0 win versus the Jersey Devils. 4-2 loss at Dallas. 5-1 at Arizona. 3-1 at Vegas. Yep, recently here. And a 6-3 demolition versus the Black Hawks in North Carolina. The Wild have been playing well, generally speaking. That's why we're actually kind of in playoff contention. But, I kind of think Carolina is going to win, like 4-2, something along the lines of that. 4-2 win. Most likely got to score for Minnesota is going to be Faber. Faber's going to break his drought at some point, but he's going to actually score a goal in the game. Unfortunately, the Wild did not win. The team comparison and stats and all that, Carolina's 11th in goals, 7th in goals against, 3rd in the power play, and 3rd in the penalty kill. They do not mess around. They have a great special team. They have great special teams in Carolina. 14th in penalty minutes. So they generally stay out of the box, but do a hell of a job on special teams, both sides of the equation, which could factor mightily towards a playoff run. So maybe this is the year Carolina goes on a massive playoff run and goes to the final. Maybe. Because I don't think anybody in the Eastern Conference is some shoe-in to go all the way to the final. Like, anybody could, any of these high-end teams could win the Cup this year. Vegas might go back-to-back. Carolina might win for the first time in, 18 years. But, I mean, it has to be one of the top ones. Like, maybe Boston finally breaks through, but they probably won't. Toronto, well, yeah, right. Just, I'll believe it when I see it when it comes to Toronto, that type of thing. As great a season as Austin Matthews is having, it doesn't, do something in the postseason for once, please. I mean, they finally got out of the first round last year, but didn't do anything after that, did they? It is what it is, but yes, I've talked about, I made my point. I think the Wild go 1-2 this course of the week, so, pardon me. I'm having trouble breathing all of a sudden, which is really annoying, but there's no real reason for it or anything. But we're going to jump into the prospects as soon as possible here. I'm going to look at the Iowa Wild first, as I tend to do, but also pulling up other things on the fly. Oh boy, there's I would say Damon Hunt. I believe he finally got something going. Nope, he's still at 11 points over the course of the season. Iowa just keeps losing games. It's annoying. Like, they'll throw in a win here and there, but it's like 1 out of 3. It's just, like that whole 1-2 thing. That seems to be the Iowa Wild. Carson Lambos did get his 9th assist of the season, now 12 points overall during his time in Iowa this course of the year in 47 games, though. He's the leading scoring defenseman. Damon Hunt has played only 29 games and has 11 points. He'd probably be leading the defenseman in scoring had he been down there more rather than in the frickin' press box in Minnesota. Like, a lot of good that did. It's like, yeah, he's up here. That's good. But then frickin' play him instead of, the same old 2 players. Or particularly the same 1 player. We haven't been seeing Goligoski anymore, which I'm just feeling terrible about that. Not. Adam Beckman's been playing pretty darn well. He's been factoring most of the time. 13 goals, 12 assists. Nicholas Baton is leading the club in scoring. Big surprise. At age 28, though. 40 total points for Nick Baton. Sammy Walker, 31 points, 10 goals, 21 assists. He does get the assist over the course of the year and the occasional goal. I remember at the beginning of the year, he was mostly assists for Walker, but that has certainly picked up of late. Generally speaking, though, Iowa is pretty disappointing. Valsteed, if that's how we're supposed to say it now, Jesper Valsteed has improved. Obviously, again, he had that awful stretch. Remember, he gave up 8 goals to the Silver Knights, the Henderson Silver Knights. That was ridiculous. The goals against average drops to 2.79 over the course of this week. But this was not a special week at all for the Iowa Wild. In fact, you could argue it was flat disappointing, to say the least. Adam Raska scored a goal in the Wild's game last night. Second goal so far in Iowa in 26 games. 3 total points for him. Nobody's really standing out that much lately, other than, again, like Walker and Beckman have been pretty good, and it's nice to see them right under Nick Baton. Obviously, Lucchini was really damn good down there when he was in Iowa. He's been pretty solid with the Minnesota Wild, generally speaking. Milne's great skating ability, but not superly point productive of late, unfortunately. Mason Shaw is up with Minnesota, but hasn't been playing. Mason Shaw is up with the Minnesota Wild, but unfortunately is the popcorn maker at the moment, unfortunately. So at least he won't get hurt doing that, I hope. And I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. It's just, I don't know. I felt so bad about the injuries. So, I mean, obviously, generally speaking. So maybe I am being a jerk, and I better cut that out. Kyle Masters. Look at the Iowa Hotlanders for the moment. Kyle Masters. Pavel Novak now 8 goals, 5 assists in 24 games with 13 total points for him. Kyle Masters, pretty solid, obviously at the ECHL level. I'd rather see him at the AHL doing well, but there's a lot. It's kind of a stacked roster that isn't winning jack bleep in Iowa, which is really annoying. Like, there's players that are there, and they're just kind of there in the way, in a sense. And Kyle Masters is like, okay, we'll get you more ice time with the Heartliners instead of the Iowa Wild. 2 goals, 7 assists so far for Kyle Masters in 15 games, and he is a defenseman, racking up the points with the Heartliners. So that's always nice to see. What is he, like he's like the 3rd or 4th leading scoring defenseman and in only 15 games, so it's not bad, actually. So, and again, that's the whole thing of being sent down to Double-A and hitting a couple home runs and raising that batting average. And that's pretty much what Kyle Masters is doing, and of course learning the game as well, not just about offense when you're a defenseman. So obviously that's super important going forward. Liam Ogren play in Sweden. Pardon me. Is at he's now at 10 points, 7 goals, 3 assists. He did have a decent week in 18 games so far in Sweden. 7 goals, 3 assists for Liam Ogren thus far in Sweden. Like I've said 1,000 times, and if anybody's new kind of to paying attention to that Ogren did miss a ton of time at the beginning of the year with a shoulder injury, and he was captain of his team in the World Junior Classics. Danila Yurov, 47 points in 59 games, so no games played of late for Danila Yurov, but a lot of people do consider him the top prospect in the entire organization. So that's always a wonderful thing. At the end of the day, the Huznadinov watch continues. 47 games in Sochi. 47 games, 6 goals, 11 assists for 17 total points. But there is a Huznadinov watch as we get further and further now into February. We're almost there, as we might hear about Huznadinov skating for the Minnesota Wild in the not-too-distant future. We'll see how things go again, and there might be some kind of a trade of somebody along the way to make room for Marat Huznadinov, who I got to think is going to have some decent success here in Minnesota. In Sochi, they were basically, they were limiting his minutes because they're like, well, we want these other guys to play since you're not going to be here. It's kind of like it's just like a, negative attitude, that kind of thing. But that's how they roll over there. It just is. It sucks, but that's their choice, I guess. I already talked about Pavel Novak. And most of these other guys, Nate Benoit, still 1 point in only 13 games for North Dakota Fighting Hawks, as they like to call them. Jack Pert, because again, we're in college now. St. Cloud State Huskies, 3 goals, 7 assists for 10 points for Pert in 28 games so far for the Huskies, who are, again, national contenders. I don't see them winning any national title or anything, but maybe I'm wrong. For their sake, we'll see how things go. The Gophers, gosh, what did they lose? 6-1 to frickin' Notre Dame, but then thankfully came back with a overtime win versus Notre Dame the next night. But in a lot of ways, that's losing the series because there was not a regulation win. They got their butts handed to them the night before. So it's very disappointing, actually, to be quite frank. I want the Gophers to go very far, and I want them to win the damn thing. It's just a fact. I want the Gophers to win the national title. I'm always kind of curious where things go. I mean, after a week like that, yeah, Minnesota did stay 8th, so fortunate there. Winnipeg, yikes, 7th. Not Winnipeg again, no, right? The Gophers had them beat. Cooley couldn't finish to make it a 3-1 game, and things went the wrong way after that. They just did. Boston College is number 1 with a bullet. Great. Boston College and Boston University, 1 and 2. That looks so familiar. And Denver, number 3. Oh, for God's sakes. Really? No. Denver, and then Boston College, and BC and BU? Get out of here. Seriously. Maine, number 9. That's who the Gophers, ended our drought against way back in 2002. Oh, God. Boston College, Boston University, and Denver. Oh, heaven help us. North Dakota's 4th. Oh, I'm going to vomit. No, please. I don't want any of them to win. The only reason I choose for cheer for Boston College or Boston University is if it's against Denver. Yay, that's about it. Otherwise, you know what I mean? North Dakota, yeah, I'd cheer against North Dakota. Yes, sorry, I don't like North Dakota. Sorry, I just don't. St. Cloud, no, they're not that good. They're 15th. It's like my head is just spinning all over the place. Let's move on. Colorado College, yeah, I remember them back, it seems like the 1990s when they were really a huge threat and things really quieted down after Tom Lucia left, of all things. And then, I don't know, it's kind of weird. They never really recovered much after that, with a few exceptions here and there. Let's get back to where I need to be. Petrovsky, Servek Petrovsky, out of Slovakia. He is a center, yeah, and unfortunately, I think he's taken a step back this year, offensively at the very least. And yeah, he's a -10 versus a +4 last year for the Owen Sound attack. So, yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe he's not really behind. I say this every week. He's 13 goals, 29 assists, 42 points. Well, at least he played well on the World Juniors. He really did. Spacek, 39 games at the AHL level, 6 points, 2 goals, 4 assists. But at least he's been factoring a little bit of late, so that's nice. Ryan Healy from Harvard, again, the big step forward this year from last. 9 goals, 12 assists, 21 points versus only 8 last year. 25 games this year, so pretty impressive, and he is a defenseman. Rager Lorenz, again, kind of baby step forward this year. 8 goals, 10 assists, 18 points. Definitely not a huge step forward, but his plus-minus is higher, and Denver is a national threat, so they really are. They're a national threat, no matter how you shake it. Hunter Haight, this guy, I believe, took a step back this year, honestly. He's scoring more goals. He's got more total points, but he's played in, 13 more games this year, and only 6 more points. So, I don't know. I think he took a step back this year. Not too impressed with Hunter Haight. I'm just being blunt and honest with you. Jimmy Clark, still only 9 points in 39 total games, but again, he's always a factor out there. He's a factor defensively and physically. Kalen Parker with 32 points for the Moose Jaw Warriors in the WHL. He is a right shot defenseman. Might be an interesting pick here. We'll see. 26 assists as well during the course of the season. Pionk for Duluth, who's not good this year, unfortunately for them. 2 goals, 13 assists, 15 total points in 29 games. But it's about time Duluth kind of disappeared a little bit. Riley Heidt is nearing 100 points with 31 goals, 64 assists for 95 total points in 54 games. He's definitely on pace for 100 plus in a magical season. But again, you don't want to get overhyped with him. Kumpalainen, Rasmus Kumpalainen, that is the center in the OHL, the Oshawa Generals, coming in out of Finland. 22 goals, 19 assists for 41 total points in 45 games. Charlie Stramel, which again, yeah, he's not been good, and I know, and I could say it a million times. I have nothing great to offer, per se, about analyzing Charlie Stramel's game other than he doesn't look too good. That's all. He just doesn't look like a good draft pick at the moment. Things can change, and I hope they do. But I don't know. Sometimes it just kind of is what it is. He's not a good draft pick. That might be the case. And he hasn't been so far. This is his second year in Wisconsin. Obviously, they're a national threat. The Wisconsin Badgers are a national threat, where a year ago they were meh at best. Hastings is doing a fantastic job. But Stramel has not improved. Other than he's 7 points better in his plus minus. Instead of minus 10, he's minus 3. And I don't know. Again, I don't have any expert analysis to give you about Charlie Stramel. But at the same, but other than, it is what it is. You're kind of seeing it. You're just kind of seeing it. And you're believing it, I guess, to a point of it's not good. That's all. That's what you're believing. With that said, we're going to take a quick break and come back and get into fan interaction. We are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 3, at Brave the Wild. At Brave the Wild is the Twitter account. And I've got to probably mention the Instagram, though it is in the show description, the actual Instagram that I talk about every now and then. Yeah, I don't really advertise it a whole lot on this show. It is Brave the Wild _MN. Brave the Wild _MN is the Instagram account. Pardon me. And it is in the show description. Also, again, the show is on YouTube now, but just in audio form, where it's just the logo and all that, or whatever the particular show logo might be. So there's that. Let's get to the point here. Okay, at Brave the Wild. And again, hashtag BTWMN is a great way to keep things organized. And yeah, Derek Filska opens things out with, who does Mason Shaw replace? There were 3 choices with other. Freddie Gaudreau, Jake Lucchini, Vinny Lettieri, or other, and of course other, please reply. And I came up with Freddie Gaudreau. I wish he would. That's just kind of I wish. He should, but it's probably Lucchini, and that one did win the vote with 51.7%, Gaudreau 39.7%, Vinny Lettieri 6.9%, and other 1.7%. Yes, Freddie Gaudreau hasn't done jack bleep, but he's he's got a contract, and it is what it is. Lucchini is kind of more of a, he's kind of quad A-ish at the end of the day. As mean as that might sound, it's kind of the way it is. I like Lucchini, but, again, like I said, kind of more of a quad A type of a player at the end of the day. That's just an unfortunate fact, now that I've babbled my head off. I'm trying to look at, he's only got 2 points in 15 games. It's not like Lucchini's lighting the world on fire either, but maybe you're seeing like a better overall effort, and that's kind of what the case has been. Next, let's keep going. Sorry. I was saying let that sink in. Yep, Tom Hayen shared that Freddie G has 1 point in his last 17 games. That was as of Feb 18th. And he said, but Beckman got his chance. Yep. See, it's just a joke, isn't it? And I was saying let that sink in. I said after today's barn burner, Joel Eriksson Ek is on pace for 42 goals and 76 points. See if there's any replies here. Yes, absolutely. Derek Pelska says Joel Eriksson Ek is everything we wanted Mikko Koivu to be, but better. Parentheses, more goal production, lower cap it. Yep. About the only thing Koivu has is face-off prowess and just shoot-out move. But bang for the buck, Eriksson Ek has produced more like a top 6 center than number 9 did. I was telling him he hit the nail on the head. I was thinking the same. I mean, and what an amazing run. And I was saying that already Joel Eriksson Ek has 6 more goals than Mikko Koivu ever did in a season. Pretty crazy. Steve Miller responds with, I had to miss that crazy third until Vancouver started taking silly penalties one after another. They had the game in hand. Yeah, they did. They were killing us. But then we smoked them into another county. And then I put the poll when all is said and done, who is the better player? Hashtag BGWMN. Mikko Koivu or Joel Eriksson Ek. Are you ready for the Ronald Reagan versus Walter Mondale landslide? Or whoever. 92.8 for Julius Eck, 7.2 versus Koivu. And it isn't trying to kick Koivu, down or anything. It's just the way it is. Multiple replies. Rick seems to kind of be semi-annoyed with what I said here. He says, you had better people around him, meaning Eck has the luxury of playing with the best player in franchise history, so of course it would be Eck. But with no Kaprizov on this team, I doubt Eck would be lighting it up like he is. But my response was that they didn't really even play together that much, though. So, I mean, Julius Eck was pretty good with the other guys as well. And his career has been blossoming for a while. Kaprizov really Eck didn't really play with Kaprizov much until this year. And even still, it is pretty recent. Stephen Miller says, we already know. Sorry, Miko. Hockey Guy says, Eck not even close. C2 says, Koivu is among the most overrated players in franchise history. I agree. JEE will outproduce him and do so while making less. Retiring Koivu's number simply because he was the first captain is still puzzling. Yep, you're not alone on that. Believe me, and I kind of agree a little bit there. Yeah, I kind of do. The Derek Felska lightning round hath returned. Let's get rolling with the lightning round. It says, why do you think the Minnesota Wild demoted Marco Rossi and not Ryan Hartman? Is it simply because Hartman makes more money and they feel they have to justify it, blackmail material, or what? I don't get it either. I have no idea. Is it money? Is it just changing things up? It's weird. At least Rossi has been playing better, though. Maybe it was to kind of wake him up a little bit because Rossi was quiet, and then all of a sudden he's playing better. So that is definitely a factor at the end of the day. So there's definitely that. But with that said, yes, at least he's playing better, I guess. But at the end of the day, yeah, it does not make any sense other than maybe it wasn't other than to light a fire under Rossi, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but something's happening with it. Here we go. Merit Huznadinov's KHL season is about to come to an end with Sochi. He has said multiple times he plans to play hockey in North America. What odds do you give him signing a contract with the Minnesota Wild to play in either Minnesota or Iowa this season? Very, very good, apparently. From, Russo seems pretty convinced he's going to be here. So, yeah, I would say Merit Huznadinov will be in North America this year. Maybe, with Minnesota might seem a little far-fetched, but, I don't know. Could that be some of the reason why they're messing around with Ryan Hartman? Maybe to try to showcase him? I don't know, because maybe I'm being a little bit out of line here by saying that. As though Ryan Hartman, he's a fixture in this franchise, that type of thing. Well, with the contract they gave him, you'd think he was. Now, nudge with the way I worded that. That's probably not related at all, is it? But Merit Huznadinov, I do believe he plays in North America one way or another, hopefully with Minnesota at the end of the day. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to make some kind of move to get him in the lineup, hopefully not messing around with the wrong people. Like, obviously, you don't even touch Rossi. He needs to be on the second line one way or another. I mean, moving him to the third made no sense at all, third or fourth line at all. Huznadinov should probably, again, be manning one of those positions at some point in the not-too-distant future. But I will, if I'm a betting man with DraftKings and such, I'll say Huznadinov plays with the Minnesota Wild this year. Yep, one way or another. He's going to have some kind of debut. Morty says 100% if he gets his visa. Yeah, yep. What are your thoughts on the play of Declan Chisholm so far? I like him. He is a puck mover like advertised. Morty responds with, he looked better and better each game. The kid has skills, speed, stick handling, quick, smart puck movements, and retrievals, He plays well out front. As a reminder, they kept Logan Stanley to try and get Chisholm, though, through waivers. Idiots. So, yes, I think the Wild did luck out with this one, and it's about time we did luck out with something. Occasionally we do. I mean, didn't we get Spurgeon for basically nothing? So maybe look at it that way, I guess. Yeah, Spurgeon, the same guy that trying to run out of town lately because of the contract and the injuries and not being nearly as good as he was about 2-3 years ago. Yeah, Chisholm does look like a really nice pickup. Again, like you said, a good puck mover. I think he's an NHL defenseman. I do. As for being like a star or anything, I don't know. But I do think he's an NHL defenseman. Obviously not a star, but could he be a top 4 guy? Possibly. But at very least, he could be an outstanding bottom pair at the end of the day. So he's certainly an upgrade versus John Merrill, Alex Goligoski. I think Chrism means that Goligoski's probably not going to hardly play anymore for Minnesota at all, and that he can finally go off into the sunset at the end of the day. Because you bring back... Yeah, we're not going to bring back Goligoski. That's just idiotic for me to even mention that. Derek Felska says, who is the one non-NHL athlete you'd like to see play hockey, especially if you knew they played when they were younger? Oh, boy. Anthony Edwards. No, I'm kidding. He joked about it, but I don't think he ever played actual hockey, especially if I knew they played. Connor Bedard. Look at this guy. Morty. Yeah, that's funny. Geez. The one non-athlete you'd like to see play hockey, especially if you knew they played hockey when they were younger. Probably Justin Morneau. Justin Morneau. He definitely did play hockey. And you can tell he kind of had a passion for it. He did. Or even like a Joe Mauer. As weird as that. Yeah, like a Joe Mauer. I could imagine him being good at it. He probably would have been. Unfortunately, the damn concussions as a catcher, but, it's like hockey's not going to help that. But just imagining if he didn't have that issue later in his, as his career progressed and such midway through and all that and beyond. Same with Morneau. Obviously, he had a massive concussion. It was a knee going right into his forehead. That was really messed up. Not intentional, but kind of sliding in and boom, getting a knee in the forehead. And unfortunately, the son of a gun was never the same. God, he was good. Justin Morneau, I think, would be a wonderful non-athlete hockey player. Non-NHL athlete is what I'm trying to say. I can't even talk right. I'm so crazy. Rock Ridge needed 4 overtimes to defeat the Forest Lake Rangers in the boys Section 7 AA quarterfinals. What is the most crazy hockey game you've ever witnessed in person or watched on TV, a computer? Wasn't there a game that went on for like 8 overtimes or something? It was like ridiculous, like recently, right? Oh my God! But there was an old high school game even back in the 90s. I think that went on forever. Did it involve I don't think, or was Hermantown in a game like that recently? I don't have like a clear memory, but I know there was a game that just kept going. Was it a college game? My brain is just stopping. I think it was an NCAA tournament game, and I know there was a high school game that went on and on and on recently too, like recently, and then one way back in the good old days in the 90s that just went on forever. A really important one. One of them might have been a state championship game, and I can't even imagine the emotions and all of that. Even just the emotions of the national championship game between Minnesota and Maine back in 2002. That was just unbelievable, and how the Gophers were able to tie it up with like 38 seconds left. Just the emotion in that moment was unbelievable. So much fun. That national championship game is the most memorable, no doubt, because obviously it was a national championship game. The Gophers hadn't won since the late 70s when I was born, and so I'm going to go with that one just for that sake. But I mean, there are a couple, and I'm forgetting exactly the details as to who was playing in those games. But it was overtime games that just went on and on and on. I think Duluth. It was Duluth. This might have been very recently, Duluth. Yep, it was it just went on and on with Duluth. And it might have been versus Boston. It might have been versus UMass Lowell or something like that. Not Lowell, but University of Massachusetts. It was something like that years ago. So I'm going to move on. I'm probably babbling too much here, but there's a lot of crazy games. But just for the memories, the national championship game, it was so dramatic. And even, that was so beautiful. And it feels a lot better than that stupid Quinnipiac one. Tecmo had sports games on the NES that covered pro wrestling, baseball, basketball, soccer, but not hockey? Why not? If they did, do you think it would be as classic as Tecmo Bowl? I think it would have been great. Yeah, I think they would have done an awesome job. I think that would have been a great game, and I wish we got to see it because We have ice hockey, we have Blades of Steel. Those games are a lot of fun and they bring back great memories. But Tecmo Hockey might have been freaking cool. It would have definitely been a welcome member to the NES library and all of that. Tom Hand, I'm going to go back to the section deal. Like the craziest game ever. I just want to see what people are saying. Tom Hand says, was in the press box. Oh, yeah, these are some good ones. Yep, press box covering the Apple Valley Duluth East 96 semis. That was a silly night. Yeah, it went on forever, right? Derek says, I remember watching that one at home. Elk Rivers versus Moorhead. That sounds really familiar, too. In the 94 8 AA finals was pretty intense, too. Morty responds with, my son was in net at the Super Rink during a Bantam tournament that move on to the championship game. 17 rounds of shootouts. Holy crap. Duluth East versus Apple Valley was crazy with OTs. Yep. So there was some high school. That's probably the one that's coming back to me from way back in the day, like early 90s, like 30 years ago. That just went on and on and on and on. Northern Michigan versus Boston U. Yeah, I remember that. Wow. There was there almost left 3 OTs. But number one, not even close, Miracle on Ice. Okay, that's cool that you got to see that. Yep. You got to see it, huh? That must have been awesome. But then again, or like you could replay it, obviously, too. But still. Tom Haynes says, albeit one less famous, Benilde St. Margaret boys trailed Chanhassen 6-3 with 5 minutes to go during the 17-18 season. Benilde St. Margaret scored 3 extra attacker goals to tie it up. And then the boy, number 8, scored with 6 seconds left to win the game. Wow. 7-6. Video and pick included. That's really cool. That's cool, Tom. Thank you for that. That's really cool. And then Johan, Monday's win versus the Canucks is up there for sure. Huskies beating the Gophers in the WCHA Frozen 5 by 8-7 is up there too. The Gophers. How dare you? How dare you? Yes, I'm a rodent. Dang it. I'm a rodent and proud of it. Squeak, squeak. Okay, sorry. M.N. Johan. Yep, okay, I just read that one. Jay Bushy, why do they struggle with top teams in the Central? Yep, we just stink at that. Yep, and thank you for getting back on the show. Always appreciate it. He says, why do they always struggle with top teams in the Central? I don't know. It's been a tough matchup forever, hasn't it? Dallas, Winnipeg. Winnipeg, it's like off and on every year. One year we're really good versus Winnipeg. The next year we suck against them. As for Colorado and Dallas, it's just all the time. We always suck against those teams. Even if they're having a down year, they still beat us. But generally speaking, when Dallas and Colorado are good, they just, they give us a hell of a time every single year. It just kind of is what it is. It's like they know us well and they know how to beat us, that type of thing, and we're not matching up to them. Plain and simple, we're just not. That's kind of how I look at it. So that's going to wrap up Fan Interaction. That was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate it. And going back down memory lane a bit with some of those old high school games and even college. I mean, there's some great ones. So that was a lot of fun. Sorry if I've been kind of jumbled and weird. I don't know. I don't know if I'm lacking in sleep or what my deal is, but so I'll apologize if I came off as a little weird like I tend to on some of these shows. Hopefully you still enjoyed it and you'll be willing to tell your friends about it and recommend it to them. But also, just want to give huge shout-outs to MNW Prospects or Young Guns. Obviously, love you guys so very much. Pavel Bennett, Justin Baki. Chad Walski was a part of it before, but Chad Walski for sure is on Minnesota Wild Global with Mr. Scott Cavendish leading the way there. Kathy Main, David Abraham, David and Chance Kostick. Yep, Chad Walski, like I mentioned, Michael Fick, and others on there. It's a really nice page. Also, Patrick Turner leads the way for Minnesota Wild Nation coming out of Florida. Really appreciate you very much. I know there's some Floridian listeners to this show, and I really appreciate you. Even one from Florida that shocked the heck out of me. I don't know if he actually listened, but maybe, because he followed the Twitter account a few years back. Mario Andretti, just in case you're listening, shout out of the century to you. Just in case you're listening, Mario Andretti. It would be cool if you tweeted me, just say, hello, yes, I do listen, or something along those lines. Maybe he did once or twice in the past. I don't know, but the Mario Andretti, yes, it's the real Twitter account, and he did follow Brave the Wild. I almost fell out of my chair. No, I was walking around at the beach at Medicine Lake, and I'm like, this can't be real. No, it's not real. What? No. I was just shocked beyond belief. I almost fell over. So it's like Mario Andretti's a Wild fan because he followed a few Wild Twitters. I was just shocked. So maybe a couple other shows and such, but I was just shocked to see that. So really cool. But got the shout outs out there. Just really appreciate all of you. Really, again, tell your friends about the show. Please give a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of those that allow you to do so. Please do. It really helps. The show needs more algorithms like any other show does, as there's nobody's feeling sorry for anybody else. Everybody's kind of like kicking each other's butt out there, and I get the feeling my show is getting its butt kicked by others out there, so could use a little love. Would really appreciate it. With that said, thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon. And, well, go draft pick, I guess.